Welcome to Walkathon Wednesday here in Van Nuys. Welcome everyone to another Walkathon Wednesday, and it seems to be the case now that our torrential downpour has become somewhat commonplace here, such that I now bring my umbrella just as a precautionary measure. And it's not raining right now, as you can see, but it was a little bit ago. But this is really good. I mean, Los Angeles is getting a lot of rain that it needs, and we are no longer in a drought as of right now. But I always say that vigilance is key to making sure that we don't return to that state come summertime. So, as normal, I encourage, of course, conservation and being very mindful of water usage, because the amount of water that we have been getting here in Southern California, it's not normal. So today we are continuing our explorations through the valley, and we're starting to move through the interior sections a little bit, starting with the neighborhood of Van Nuys, which is where we're going to be focusing on today. And as we walk through today, my focus is really just going to be on showing the everyday life and just showing how the area is. I mean, that's always kind of been what I try to do during these walks, but because we've been walking through a lot of areas where there's just a lot of stuff to look at, it may give the impression that, in a way, I'm kind of creating a little bit of a travel guide on, like, I don't know, top 10 things that you want to visit in, like, downtown LA, for example, This approach, however natural it might have been for those other parts of LA, it doesn't really apply here, because this is a part of town that's really catered towards locals more so than visitors. I mean, Van Nuys isn't an area that I would say people come to LA to visit, right? So I'm not like saying, here's why you need to go to Van Nuys. I'm saying, here's what Van Nuys is all about, right? The valley in general, specifically these interior sections that we're starting to dive into, has a much more relaxed way of life. The pace is a lot slower here. And LA needs that. I mean, you guys who live in LA and who've been to LA or who have seen LA, I mean, this is a very dense, busy place. And so the valley offers a really great contrast to that. And so I want to do my best to show that today and to show you guys a little bit of what characterizes Van Nuys specifically. And so let's dive right into it. I don't really know what we're going to find today, but that's what makes it all the more fun for me. What's the first thing you notice? There is nobody on the sidewalk. This would be normal in a residential area, but this is a main street. Like much of the valley, Van Nuys is very car-oriented, so those long walkable commercial strips don't really exist outside its downtown. Speaking of cars, it's a profitable business, as you've already seen. In this photo alone, there are 4 different auto repair and body shops. It makes sense. There's a lot more space in the valley, which would also explain why many gear rental houses set up shop here. It's always insurance buildings that get the modern glass architecture, but notice the size of the parking lot in front, a clear indication of car culture. Small craft coffee shops are few and far between up here. This is the only one around this area, and even then, it's inside a corporate building. What this tells me is that most of its clientele are people who work in the building. This is typical to see in business parks or suburbs where things are very spread out. But in this case, Van Nuys is still uniquely urban. I say uniquely because while you've seen a few suburban characteristics, there's still street parking, food trucks, and mid-rises that keep things busy. View of the wildlife area from the road above. This natural habitat shows what the valley might have looked like before civilization arrived. The Sepulveda Dam nearby was built in 1941 to prevent floods into the basin. Willows, sycamore, and cottonwood trees flourish with the music of birds and bees. You'll notice there are no palm trees here. That's because palms are not native to Los Angeles, and they never were. Only one type of palm is native to SoCal, and it isn't near LA. I'm just walking through grass now, and I can't think of a better time to do so. The basin covers 2,000 acres, which amazes me given how urbanized the areas around it are. Recreational areas, playgrounds, a Japanese garden, archery range, and other attractions fill the space. What's up, guys? I am just showing you a little bit of what we've got going on here. We are in Woodley Park, and I'm totally just walking straight through the park here. There's no sidewalks or anything like that, which I am completely fine with. I mean, with all the rainfall that we've been getting, it smells so fresh out here. You can hear the birds chirping, and you can see so many flowers blooming now, which is really great. And although I generally try to stick to, urbanized areas during these walks, I think that going through the nature here was a good call, because it just goes to show that for all of LA's urbanization and reputation as a concrete jungle, it really does, still make room for the one thing that, in my opinion, makes this a fantastic, desirable place to live or spend some time, which is the outdoors. We're back on the road, and a common theme has been that intersections tend to hold most of the commercial activity in these residential areas. Here, for example, you can see some apartment buildings not far up the road from that intersection, but lining the street itself is not much else. In fact, the bigger main streets within this part of the valley are surprisingly dense with apartments. Conversely, the smaller streets within each of the big blocks focus on small homes. Notice that in both cases, the area itself is actually quite nice. The previous slide looked very suburban, right? Well, it's tucked behind this intersection. The urban feel never actually goes away. It just morphs between commercial and residential. Then you've got local hidden gems like this one, DeFranco's Italian Sandwiches, an old school sandwich shop since 1974. We're now at Van Nuys Airport. This airport is dedicated to non-commercial air travel, and you can see private jets up close. This airport grew popular with Hollywood, and was the location of the airport scene in 1942's Casablanca. It was once a military base too. Today, it's a public airport serving several locations like Las Vegas and San Jose. So here's the Van Nuys Airport right here. You can see some of those planes. And then this is the Flyaway bus service directly across the street. And we're on the corner now of Woodley and Satakoy. That's where this is. And this shuttle bus will take you all the way to LAX. So if you're in the valley and you don't want to deal with that drive, or perhaps you don't want to pay the insane price of parking your car at LAX, you can just park it on one of the side streets here, one of the neighborhood streets, and take the bus shuttle. It'll take you all the way there. The shuttle to LAX is now $12.75 one way as of 2025. You could park inside the Flyaway parking building here, but if you can tolerate a short walk and are on a budget, you can park at any neighborhood street nearby. Many streets here do not have street sweeping schedules, but always check signs to be sure. So again, we're at an intersection. You can see there's a little plaza there with a hair salon and a couple other things. And then across the street here, we have a car wash, and there's a church right here, and a couple other things. But then as we continue along the street, a lot of these commercial plazas, if you will, are going to disappear, and it's going to be mostly apartment buildings. And that's kind of been a consistent thing that I've noticed today that I've already shown you guys, but just to reiterate the overall feel of the area, is we see a lot of those changes just walking through here. Again, fairly nice apartments here. You might think this wasn't a quiet little area if I didn't show you the other side. Yeah, it's like this all the way down. Van Nuys Boulevard is the exception to what we've been seeing. It's a primary street that is commercialized all the way through. In fact, if there's one part of Van Nuys that might not be that nice, it's this area. Case in point, a homeless encampment is honestly the last thing I expected to walk through today. Beyond that, Van Nuys has a concentrated collection of small businesses in the form of the Van Nuys Bazaar Swap Meet. It feels much like the street markets in the fashion district downtown, but more localized. This is where you can throw axes and destroy all kinds of shit, including cars. Here at Break Room LA, lots of office spaces here, and a restaurant called Wanna Smash that has a menu exactly like you think. This is certainly comparable to a little downtown area for Van Nuys. It's a little odd, with a wonky mix of businesses, but that's what makes it unique. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap up today's walk, and the biggest takeaway, at least for me, is this is a very car-oriented space, much more so than other parts of LA that we have walked through. What I found really interesting though is the fact that it is a very residential area overall. That's very focused on the local community, which is great, but it's still very urban. It has a very urban, a unique urban feel to it. It's not suburban, it's still pretty busy. I mean, there's been traffic, you can even see behind me, like, it's a busy area. But like if you worked in a place like Burbank or North Hollywood, I could see Van Nuys being a pretty decent place to live, and I read it's somewhat affordable too. So overall, a very nice walk. It was longer than you might think, but that's just because things are more spread out here. Overall, really enjoyed today. I will see you guys next week as we explore even more of the interior valley.